What was the first sign that your partner was cheating? Story 1. Our shared doctor encouraged me to get STD testing because you never know people all the way. She stood there and said several times that she couldn't violate confidentiality, but she recommended the tests, and my dumb jerk was mad at her for thinking he was that kind of person. It hit me a year later after Id caught him with someone else while I was pregnant. It's been over a decade, and let me tell you, hurt fades, anger fades, but feeling dumb, that sticks. Answer: dated a guy for 3 years. Then I randomly started having stomach aches, so he encouraged me to see a doctor. Turns out it was an STD causing them. I broke down crying in the office, faced with what was actually happening, while the nurse comforted me. When I confronted him, he got really mad at me because it was his doctor's office. I did walk in there, and they would have known what he did. Jerk. Story 2. My then boyfriend and I were watching a movie and laughing, and as he stood up to go to the bathroom, I held up his phone for the Face ID unlock and told him I was going to look up the cast because I thought I recognized one of the actors. Even though we'd been relaxed and goofing a split second prior, he immediately got incredibly antsy and was leering over my shoulder the whole time, reaching over and fidgeting like I was a loose cat walking on the nuclear launch keypad. I've never felt the urge or need to look through any of my partner's phones, even after this incident, and he'd never hesitated to do the hold up for Face ID thing to me before. So I found it extremely weird. Sure enough, come to find out, a few months later, he had accounts on multiple dating apps and had been cheating on me. Answer: I have always gave my phone pin to any girl I have dated. I have nothing to hide. One time a GF opened my phone to look something up, and when she opened my browser, it was open to adult content. It was a very new relationship, not even official. I shrugged and we both just laughed it off. We ended up dating for years. Later, when I thought she was distancing, she was in the shower and her phone was on the nightstand. I knew her pin, grabbed her phone, and went to see what she was up to. I immediately knew the relationship was over. I never looked. The moment you don't trust them, it all falls apart. Edit. Also, I had another girlfriend tell me her sister had found me on dating apps. I had met that girlfriend on Bumble. I was blown away. I had deleted the apps years ago from my phone when we became official and never gave them a second thought. Apparently, you need to deactivate or delete the accounts or whatever, I don't know. Regardless, she was convinced I was online dating. Remember, I give access to my SO of my phone at any time. People have serious trust issues. I dislike dating. Story 3. Getting overly irritated over smallest things I did, stirring my coffee too obnoxiously in the morning, putting my shoes in the wrong place on the rack. I think she felt guilty internally and was coping, deflecting that into pointing out all my mistakes to make herself feel better. Story 4. She went from treating me like her obsession to obsessively talking about the other guy. And she would anxiously wait for texts from him and get upset when he didn't text back quickly, like you expect a significant other to do. She also started looking at me like a roommate and finding every chance to make business meetings to go see him. They are now married. She even wore a nice dress to go see him once and asked me if she looked pretty. It was easy to see her eyes fully go off of me and onto him. Answer: she went from treating me like her obsession to obsessively talking about the other guy. This is so hard to come to terms with in the moment and accept their inability to stay committed. After going through a 3-year relationship with someone like this, I had to end another relationship recently that was really good because the same red flags were there, and it's extremely hard to reconcile. They both seemed so happy and wanted marriage, but then their actions when it came to other men showed that they either didn't have good enough boundaries or they just wanted one-way commitment. Story 5. On her phone, 247, her face would light up with happiness every time her phone went off. After about 3 days of this, I asked if I could use her Facebook Marketplace to put an item up for sale. She refused. She told me to email everything to her and she would do it. We are standing here together and she is saying no. I can't use her Facebook and to email it to her. And that mixed with the several days prior of the weirdness on the phone, I just said it. Are you cheating on me? And she said yes. Now are divorcing. Story 6. He started being very vague about people's gender when talking about who he was spending time with. My friend and I went, they did this. We went here. They bought that. And when I pointed it out, he would gaslight me and try to tell me he wasn't being vague, that I was making a big deal and being controlling. It was because he was hanging out with women and being very careful not to say that. This, and retroactively, another sign that should have been obvious, was that he would get upset with me and stop talking to me for days at a time. Found out later he was using this time to cheat. He would arrange a fight so he would have an excuse to not talk to me for a while so he could talk to her. And he did the same to her so he could talk to me. Answer: this was my experience. Unfortunately, the person had a gender-neutral name too. I ended up looking up her profile, and the first time they hung out, they went on a picnic at the beach. She was wearing a short dress, and they drank as well. It's almost as if she was showing off in her post. It was soul-crushing, but I lied to myself as I was convinced he was not the kind of person who would cheat. I was wrong. Story 7. Can someone please give me insight into this? I am really struggling. I didn't know he cheated or left me for another girl. He just stopped talking to me. It was weird. We broke up without ever actually talking about it. It just ended. 2 months later, he reached out saying he couldn't stop thinking about me and that he loved me. We got back together, and 4 months later, I went through his phone and found out he had been with another girl during those 2 months. Basically a full-blown relationship. I even saw their last messages. She wrote, "You, how was your slimy sleepover?" When he was literally at my place, and he has an apology call, ending it with her. After I found out, I told him he was disgusting and kicked him out. For months afterward, he sent handwritten letters to my house, flowers, even got my name tattooed on his ribs. It just doesn't make sense. He became obsessive, saying he loved me, wanted to marry me, would wait forever. Then I kept finding out even more lies. Eventually, I blocked him on everything and told him to stop messaging me or sending letters. Yeah, I feel fudge up. Answer: yes, I can, because I have been in the same place. My problem was having expectations for how other people behave. Other people's actions are beyond my control, so there is no reason to worry about them. I approach everyone with an open mind now. Those who are a bad fit, I back away without judgment. Those who are a good fit, I continue to bond closer to. The world can be a beautiful place. It's all in your own mind. Story 8. We're going back to college, but he had a new gal pal from the dorm that he was hanging around. She was in my circle, but we weren't best buddies. He was talking about how good of friends they had become over the winter session. I found red hairs on his pillow, and that was it. To get him to admit it, I pretended I was psychic and had a dream that he cheated on me with her, and told him that. He bugged out over my supposed psychic powers and confessed the whole thing. Then he went out with her for a good long while, and I think she punched him out in a bar one time because he cheated on her too. But we're going back to 1994 style college dorm drama, so it may or may not be accurate. I do know that on a drunken evening, years later, she approached me to tell me that I handled the news of their cheating really well, and she had a lot of respect for me because of that. So that was kind of a clue. Gotta love those old cheating stories. Answer: going back almost as far, probably around 96, pretty much the same thing happened. It culminated with finding a hair on the pillow that I used at his place and a hair clip on the nightstand. I was so stupid at the time too, because I didn't realize that she probably left the clip on purpose. My stuff was all over his place, so she would have known about me. I was so gutted. I can still remember the physical pain, sickness, and the drop I felt in my stomach that day. Seeing all that, I put up with more of the same garbage from him over our 5-year relationship. I still kick myself for allowing him to hurt me over and over again. Story 9. I didn't know at the time. It wasn't until I found her Google search history. Turns out she shared a Google account with my 11-year-old daughter. So everything she searched would be on my daughter's phone, including Google Maps timeline and even photos that were syncing. Driving to a state park with my daughter, and I asked her to look up lyrics to a song we were listening to. She got out her phone, and I looked over to see Mormon soaking in past searches under the search bar. I took note of that, and after my daughter went to sleep that night, I got on her phone and I found a whole plethora of what the actual fudge. But looking back on it, my dumb jokes didn't land the same anymore. She was looking for ways to villainize me, loaded questions. What does this mean? Whose handwriting is this? Subtle ways she changed her makeup, the way she did her hair. She started listening to different music, was guarded about her phone, and even yelled at me for trying to be silly and asked her who she was texting while we were watching a movie together as a family. She started talking about a coworker of hers a lot, then stopped all of a sudden. She even went on a road trip with that coworker to visit an old friend of theirs. I trusted her unquestionably. Walmart Plus receipts showed that she bought lube before going on that trip. Also, the van broke down on the way back from the road trip, and she had it towed to the town she worked in. She stayed there for 6 days until it was fixed. I'd make chicken noodle soup from scratch and take pictures of it, proud as fudge with myself. She was working late. Her only reply was, "Is the kitchen a mess?" Google Maps shows she'd get off of work at 8 p.m. Go to a hotel with a jacuzzi suite, restaurant, movie theater, some residential house, fast food, then get home at 3 a.m., all while texting me that she missed our daughter and me and how much she wanted to be home. And when she did get home, she'd sit on the porch smoking plant substance while on her phone, daughter and I wouldn't know she was home for a while. She was living a second life. Boyfriend and his kids, which she was buying things for. Walmart Plus receipts showed snow gear, sleds, toys for a toddler, men's belts, pants, adult beverage, take action pill. I had a vasectomy in 2016. While it left me in chronic pain, it did work. I got it because of how severe the complications were with the birth of our daughter. The midwife and doctor taking me to the side and telling me that we might want to start thinking about which one to save. We moved halfway across the country. I made some friends here, not many. I'm socially inept with severe anxiety. After the separation, she told everyone that I got the vasectomy to spite her, knowing full well she wanted 2 more kids. She had a kid with her now husband last January. She had the same complications that she did with our daughter. Anyway, not only did she spread that around, but turns out she was running a very effective smear campaign against me. 2 years before the separation, everyone turned against me. Wow, this turned into a rant. My bad. Felt kind of good to get out, though. Answer: I found out my relationship was apparently only real to me by looking at his Google Maps and search history. I dug deeper and found everything. It felt like my soul left my body. On the plus side, I'm now really good at reading raw Google Maps data and have considered taking a private investigator course. I'm so sorry she did that to you. I hope you're doing better. Story 10. Gaslighting and holding on to grudges on things that didn't matter in the long run, while some other dude treats her 20x worse, losing all her pearls and character. Preaching values she never adhered to herself, which were actually your own, which she then gaslights, but yay, definitely gaslighting and making weird comments. Answer: the holding on to grudges is ridiculous, and it hurts the most, especially when you've been led on to believe, after being explicitly told, that healing happened and all is well, and there's nothing wrong going on. The gaslighting, too. Not to mention the self-righteous indignation when you try to get answers. Apparently, this is just the playbook. In a weird way, I'm glad I can learn from this shared experience and be wiser with future partners. Story 11. Distant behavior and a retreat into their phone PC. Emphasis on first sign. It may not be full-on cheating at that point, but the indicator there is that they are engaging elsewhere while disengaging with you. So something is wrong. Could be cheating, could be depression, could be anxiety over an issue they are not comfortable to share, could be all of the above. This can be emotionally harmful to you as well, due to the anxiety of the unknown and/or your natural gut feeling about something being off-prodding you. I advise caution and patience. Give them an opportunity to address this. You will feel better and be better able in the long run to look back favorably on your response if the outcome ends up being what you suspected. That helps immensely with moving on. Whether that opportunity be just a couple inquiries about how they are doing, is anything wrong? If walled off there too, give them enough rope to hang themselves with. Stick to what you can control and don't lower yourself to their shady level. It's not about being weak. Trust me, handling this maturely provides a tremendous boost to your ability to recover from it. Even if it's not cheating, but something else that aggravates you. They broke a financial type rule between you two. They were guarded with an ailment inflicting them. They are having trouble keeping a secret about a friend of theirs that doesn't involve cheating on you, etc. You don't want to go scorched earth investigating only for it to be nothing to do with fidelity. Now your relationship is damaged anyway, hence caution, patience. Story 12. Previously passionate and interested became busy and disinterested. We used to video chat frequently and could talk about anything. Towards the end, she didn't have much to say and kept showing the cat playing. In text, she was still loving and sweet, but face-to-face, there was a barrier. Story 13. Weirdly possessive about his phone. It absolutely had to be next to him 247. He would sleep with it under his pillow when he usually put it on the nightstand. And texting at weird angles and during inappropriate times, like he absolutely could not keep someone else waiting, like immediately after intimacy instead of cuddling with me. Normally, we would just share whoever's laptop was currently turned on, but he put a stop to that. He would make me turn on my own laptop for a quick Google search, rather than let me see his laptop screen. Stopped inviting me out with his friends. He stopped caring about my pleasure during intimacy. Also tried really hard to push my boundaries as if someone else was letting him do something to them that I didn't want done to me. He also got oddly clingy at the beginning of the affair. I think a tiny part of him was afraid I would find out, so he was trying to keep me occupied and distracted. Story 14. Pattern of behavior suddenly changed. Quick to snap at me, had never spoken to me like that before. Stopped texting regularly and slammed the brakes on any kind of travel plans, outings dates. I let it go on like that for months before I found out through a mutual friend that he was in a full-blown relationship with someone else and couldn't leave me because he needed a place to stay until he could ask his new girlfriend to move in. Story 15. I didn't even have a clue until this day he had to run into a store for an errand. My phone was dead, and I said, "Can I use yours so I'm not bored?" He said, "Sure." I said, "I'm going to go through your stuff," half joking. He gave me a weird look and said, "Okay." So I did. And he was messaging other women asking for a date when we were sitting next to each other on New Year's Eve, LOL. I wouldn't even suggest going through my partner's phone as a wiser adult, but I guess I'm glad I did with that one. Story 16. Lack of affection was sign one on. No hand on my thigh while driving, no extra kisses, no holding me for a few extra minutes when I try to get out of bed to make breakfast. Small things. Then around the same time, he was getting extra exasperated during arguments. When I brought up something valid, he was extra short with me, and I could just tell he didn't want to deal with it. When he said something along the lines of, "Someone else would feel lucky to deal with this issue you're complaining about," that's when I knew. A few weeks later, I got the "Hey girly" text. Story 17. Started to be poorly with migraines every night and said he couldn't be bothered to be on his phone. All he wanted to do was sleep. Then when we did hang out, I saw another woman from the bar. He drank in, say, "So did you go and meet that girl then?" But it was me who had his phone in my hand. He said, "You just think into thing too much. The girl she's on about is you." A week later, we ended. The next day, he had a new girlfriend, asked her to be his girlfriend within a week of knowing her, and got her pregnant 9 weeks in. I know this because a few weeks in, she reached out as she had suspicions he had a girlfriend. We spoke and we told each other everything. The way the dates and times added up, he'd been in bed with me texting her whilst I slept, and then going out with her, getting tipsy with her, and texting me the next day saying he'd been in bed all night poorly. She still stayed when she found out. That being said, he's her problem now, and you lose them how you got them usually. I am free to do as I chose, and she's stuck with a known liar and cheat. He denies being with me and said I was a psycho ex because he got caught out. Story 18. Well, now that I look back, it was always them losing trust in me first, for no real reason. And then they'd keep pushing it until eventually I found out they were cheating. I've always been loyal and never hid anything, so it's an obvious sign to me now. People accuse you like that when they themselves are in the wrong. Story 19. Partner and wife of 20 years. Stopped making plans for the future together. Started being concerned about our finances and accessing the online banking. Got a second phone for work, going to bed earlier, but staying up on the phone before suddenly putting it down when they heard me coming to bed. Working less from home and more in the office, but also being late more and more frequently. Turned off location services for the family accounts. Changed the passcode on their phone. Went and got Botox. Started working out. Constantly irritated. Everything my fault, and no accountability or flexibility. I knew early doors that the writing was on the wall. Asked them about it. Asked them to work with me. We have a 6-year-old autistic and partially deaf son, so I was desperate to make it work for him. Not interested. Cleared the savings account while I was away on a work trip and ended the marriage over a phone call. Found out she was already taking our son to meet with the new partner, her boss from work, the cliche, before we split. Told me she was taking our son and relocating to another city. Fought through the courts asking for $50 miles 50 custody, which she refused. $120K later, the courts sided with me. She lied throughout, was caught numerous times. She lied about being in a new relationship even though she was pregnant 3.5 months after separation. Now she has financially ruined us both and is having to pay child support to me and doesn't have the amazing life she thought she would have when she walked away. Thought she was walking away with a lot financially and child support payments for life. She was very wrong. My son can't stand the new partner, so doesn't want to visit. It eliminate me to see him upset, but I tell him Mummy loves him very much and he needs to give the new guy a chance and things will get better. She's super bitter. She's me as the reason for unhappiness and won't accept she's done this to herself. 2 years on, it's still not over, and she recently made up criminal allegations as a last-ditch effort to try and score some kind of victory over me. Utterly exhausted by the whole thing, but I get to see my boy and would spend the lot again in heartbeat to achieve the same outcome. Story 20. It's always the emotional distance first. When I was 20, my girlfriend was convinced by her friends that there's no way I'm staying committed to her and told her to get back. They even set her up with a guy and everything. I guess as she was working up the courage to go through with it, that's when I noticed the major behavior shift. I found out because those same friends rolled on her and recorded her performing oral and posted it everywhere, calling her a cheating slut. While I did feel bad that she was humiliated, I was also angry that she took absolutely no responsibility for her actions and tried to blame them. It's not like anyone forced her to do anything. I couldn't even fathom why they would do this until one of those friends tried to be there for me and then ask me out shortly after. That's when I learned just how truly conniving women can be. Story 21. This was years ago for me, but he kept making jokes about having another girlfriend. Then one night he was rushing me out of the house, and I came back for some reason, I don't remember what it was anymore, and I saw he had just been using the phone. When I questioned him, he denied even using the phone. Until that moment, I had no reason not to trust him, but after that, the truth came out. He admitted to seeing someone else for about 5 months or so. Story 22. She started being weird and really protective about her phone, and then she told me. When I forgave her, I guess she decided was too much hassle, so she decided to try to make me be poly with gaslighting and bullshit, even though I'd make it abundantly clear I didn't want that. Story 23. I was home on Army leave. My girlfriend at the time picked me up from the airport, and I was excited to go out and spend the night with her, something she and I had talked about a few weeks before I came home. On the way back, she told me she had made plans with her girlfriends to go out. I was disappointed, but it also gave me a chance to see my dad, so I wasn't too mad. Later that night, I got this nagging feeling. After seeing a few of my battle buddies have their Jody moments, the feeling was overwhelming. I decided to go to her house, and sure enough, her car was in the driveway. I know it might sound creepy, but I quietly made my way over to her bedroom window. I knew her blinds didn't close all the way, and one of them had a small slit. I got as close as possible, and there she was, getting put through the mattress. Honestly, it broke my heart because I had been as loyal as could be, despite all the temptation around me. It took me a while to recover until I met my wife. Story 24. I remember a thread not too old of a woman wondering if she had been cheated on. One day she decided to phone call to her husband's office. Someone else picked it up and said that every Thursday was his day off since he was hired. She didn't know that. Every day he would get dressed and drive to work. Everyone in the thread told her to get a divorce and that he was cheating on her. Turns out he was visiting his brother in prison. He never told her that cause he was worried she would leave him because of his broken family. Story 25. She never physically cheated, but the first sign for me that she was monkey branching was when she got defensive when I asked her to tell her online male best friend about our relationship because I thought that it was healthy if all the people she was close with knew that she wasn't single because it would change their dynamic to a certain degree. Story 26. When she accused me of cheating, saying that my location was at a club all night. Bro, I was at home sleeping with my cats. The argument ended when I produced the logs of my door because my door logs when you open it and close it, lol. It showed that I came into my apartment around 6:13 p.m. and didn't leave until 11 a.m. the next day. So unless I crawled out a window out of the 19th floor, I was home the whole time. Found out weeks later that she was projecting. Story 27. The intimacy stops. They take their phone to the toilet with them. Texting with phone away from you. They get meaner about your appearance or traits they've never had issues with prior. Their routines change, go out more, for longer. Lies get elaborate. Too many details and excuses for being out longer. Extra hours at work. My ex was so fudge obvious it hurt, he also changed his code on his phone. We had each other's code for if the other was driving and needed to respond to someone, etc. I finally found out on a holiday for his sister's wedding in Cancun, flew back the next day on my own, and haven't looked back since. Story 28. He often spoke badly about the new intern at his company, that she is rude, that she's way too thin, that he finds her strange. It puzzled me why he talks so often about a woman he doesn't like. At least he liked her enough to fudge her 4 weeks later. Story 29. She put a privacy screen on her phone. We've been getting pretty spicy with the pictures and texts we were sending each other, so I figured she was just protecting our kids from shoulder surfing and seeing my cock. Turns out she was hiding conversations with other dudes from me too. We worked through it over the last 2 years and our marriage is healing, but I was in a bad place for a long time. Story 30. My GF of 3 years always had excuses when I asked where she was or what she was doing. Didn't answer texts or calls. One night we went to a club and she had too much to drink, so I went through her purse and found another cell phone in this secret pocket. I took pictures of all the text messages from all these other guys and all the pictures she had with these other guys. I was so broken. I woke her up and kicked her out of my hotel room. I took a flight next day to come home. Haven't talked to her ever since. Only regret I have is that she has a little daughter and her and I were getting close. I hope her daughter doesn't turn out like her mom. Story 31. For me, the first sign was how suddenly his whole behavior changed. The same guy who used to insist that we text or FaceTime every day suddenly didn't have time anymore. He was the one who had set that routine because I supposedly wasn't giving him enough attention at the beginning, but when I kept that same effort, he started acting like it was too much. I noticed he was more distant, quiet, and irritated. I tried to talk about it and said something felt off between us, but every time I brought it up, he'd get defensive or angry. He always had an excuse: work stress, being tired, needing space, and somehow managed to make me feel like I was overreacting. I really tried to reconnect, suggested dates, planned activities, even spent money on things he'd said he wanted to do. He'd agree at first, then cancel at the last minute or act annoyed when we actually did go. The emotional and physical connection just faded, and when I tried to show affection, he'd say I was asking for too much. Looking back, that constant shift from "I need more from you" to "you're too demanding," and the gaslighting whenever I brought it up were the clearest signs. That's when I realized the problem wasn't me, it was him pulling away because something or someone else was going on. English isn't my first language. I rephrase this with ChatGPT to make sure it reads clearly. Story 32. I'm going to tell you not to ignore the signs because you don't want to believe it, because you don't want to lose what you have or the one you've loved. But I will add that if you confront and they sincerely want to and will rededicate themselves to you, it's worth you fighting for. I am telling you from experience. I realize that what I have is far superior to everything I thought was better. I owe her every day for my mistakes while she hurts, but fought to make it work because she wasn't done. I hope for you that anyone wanting redemption is truly working for it. Story 33. She started going out with her friends more and wearing sexier looking clothing than when she went out with me. She'd claim it was because she was feeling more confident in herself. The thongs were the telling point. She had always rejected thongs as they bothered her. Then she'd start wearing them to go out with the girls. And I'd make comments like, "Nobody can see that though. Why do you wear them and come home and put the granny panties back on with me?" "I can see them. It makes me feel sexy." Right. Shouldn't that be when you're here with me and in bed? And it turned into a fight. Fast forward months later, I was right about everything. Story 34. IDK, what's been going on with mine, but he's been getting phone calls and texts real late at night, like after 9, 10 p.m. after we put our baby to sleep. He will run off to another room to answer it and be whispering. I've caught him a couple times talking to someone, but when I walk into the room, he hurries off of the phone and acts like he was never on the phone. He's been leaving at random strange times like 2 p.m. just to run out real quick. I ask what for and he refuses to tell me. Never comes back with anything though. Almost immediately jumps into the shower. I'm so scared. I've had an intense gut feeling for weeks now. Story 35. It's a gut feeling, you'll know. Usually starts with as you not feeling important to them anymore. Almost as if their priorities and focus are elsewhere. They won't want to be around you as much. Instead of cuddling up watching a movie, they'll want to lay on the phone or sleep. They stop talking about future plans unless you bring it up. They won't want to do anything with you unless you're the one to ask or offer. Intimacy becomes very infrequent unless they're an intimacy addict. Routines change. They may start showering before work if they were previously a night shower person. They start shaving before girls' nights or guys' nights. Hiding phone usage or guarding their phone. Unexplained but routine later nights at work. If someone is cheating, even if over the phone, it will always escalate to physical cheating. Catching someone cheating over text or Snap is hard because you can delete evidence. But eventually it will become physical, and that's where you catch them. They will slip up on one of those nights out with a friend or "I'm gonna be at work late," because it will become a routine thing, especially if their job isn't the type of job to be at work late. Unless they're management, where it's already a normal thing. People that cheat often start losing self-control and become sloppy. They'll start texting them around you. They'll start seeing them more often. You usually only catch them long after they started cheating because they just end up communicating with them and seeing them more and more as time goes by, making it easier to catch. In the beginning, they may not communicate with them when you're around, or they may keep those late nights at work situations very infrequent, but it always escalates. Story 36. It was little things at first. She was supposed to be one place, but was actually at another. Then the finances wouldn't add up. Money would be missing from the bank with no explanation. Finally, I found out she had a property with a house that I was unaware of. To this day, she's never admitted she did anything wrong, but I refuse to play Monopoly with her anymore. Story 37. She was staying over one night and decided to answer a call from her ex right in front of me. I broke up with her the next day. A few weeks later, she had that same ex message me on Facebook, and he apologized and asked me to give her another chance and unblock her so we could mend the broken relationship. I sent him back a voice message of me laughing my jerk off and blocked him, and she stayed blocked. That was such a weird experience. Story 38. For me, he was sleeping in really late, but telling me he was going to bed early. Started buying me expensive gifts, I think from guilt. Held on to his phone for dear life. Never left it in a room he wasn't in, always put it down face down. Eventually, his friends told me they had seen him out with his ex-girlfriend. Story 39. I'm going to show my age here and also admit how oblivious trusting I was as a younger person. This was back in the day, as in when MySpace was still hanging on, but Facebook was becoming more popular. I was exclusive with this guy, but we were an official BC. He wanted to keep it private from his crazy ex. We got along really well, and he was always saying how good I was to him, but he would occasionally post angsty song lyrics on Facebook and talk about how women always screw over nice guys like him. I'd have friends asking if we got in a fight or something, and I'd be like, no, he was here yesterday and everything was fine. He'd play it off as my crazy ex called me, and I posted that BC. I was thinking about how she treated me. It took me longer than I care to admit to realize his crazy ex was not an ex at all, and they'd been off and on the whole time he was seeing me. He was a user in every possible way, always mooching off me and his friends. In my defense, he was not the smartest person, but he could gaslight with the best and was a skilled manipulator. He eventually got outed on social media BC. Apparently, he was even stringing a few gay guys along to get rides, money, gifts, etc. out of them with promises of being together soon. I look back on that time and wonder what I was on not to see the signs, but at least I wasn't the only one taken in, I guess. Story 40. Went from hating doing extra shifts at work she disliked to taking them every weekend and refusing to let me drop her off pickup to save trips and gas from there. I ended up catching her because I dropped by her work to bring something. I suspected stuff already and surprised she wasn't on the schedule for that shift or any other she had gone to work for. Called her asking where she was. She said she was work and had to get back, to which I replied we would be having this convo face to face if she was. Story 41. My ex-wife and I took our kids to an indoor trampoline park where we just happened to run into a guy she knew from work and his 2 kids. She spent the entire time with him. We had a brand new infant, so I was entertaining our then 3-0 instead of with us. From across the room, I watched him go heat a bottle up for her, hold the baby, which infuriated me, and then get paper towels for her when the baby spit up. The way they sat together and interacted, I knew. There were plenty of other signs following, but that was the first. Story 42. Told me to DoorDash something, LOL. It was that simple. We never DoorDashed anything. And the matter-of-fact way he said it meant to me that he's DoorDashed with someone else a few times. It was still relatively new at that time. Same way he ordered an Uber, like it was no big deal. Story 43. We lived near each other when we started dating, but then she had to relocate to a city 2 hours away. We decided to make it work, but suddenly she would only come out to me, never wanting me to ever come to her, despite my insistence. I started questioning this, and that's when she stopped responding to all my calls, texts, etc. That's when my suspicions began. And I found out shortly after that she was in fact seeing someone else near home and didn't want to risk anyone finding out she was also seeing me by having me come out to her. Story 44. When she started bringing her phone to the bathroom. We lived in the same apartment, and when you're with someone all the time, you know all of their little habits. Now, obviously, you can go to the bathroom with your phone, but every time she went to pee, she started to bring her phone, which was not normally like her. About a month-ish later, I decided to go through her phone one night. My gut was wrenching, and sirens were telling me to look. Lo and behold, I found texts. Story 45. His buddy opening the door and looking at me and saying to him, "Can't make up your mind, eh?" He literally picked up someone else the first weekend over a couple of years that we didn't spend together. I had another one do the same thing, but I had a dream about it. Then some girl called in the morning all giggling that he answered on speakerphone. The dumbass. They both still wanted to continue having a relationship after, and I was like, fudge off, you probably have a disease now, and I can't trust you anyway. Story 46. He just started screaming at everything. Simple, innocuous questions were viewed as an attack. His friends stopped coming over and he started hanging out with them at their place. Or that was the story. Until I followed him to a coworker's house at midnight. Story 47. Allow me to enter and take this one. I was born intersex into an elitist family that treated me like a freak. Humiliation, degrading like that. When I got a GF and we were looking serious, my mother told her to drop me, that she could do better. I was stunned that a girl would love me at all. It was like a miracle. We got engaged and set the date for a year later. She moved in with me. She got pregnant a few months before the wedding. I didn't think I could do that. At about 6 weeks before the wedding, my fiance tells me she had gone to a party with her sister and she cheated. So she's pregnant. I think it's mine because I am stupid and I am to my bones convinced I am undeserving of love at all. So I forgive her. This set the stage. She had cheated, had gotten what she wanted, and been rewarded with my continuing love for her. She cheated again and again and again. Each time I had known it was happening by that feeling in my gut. Lots of makeup on a girl's night, gone all night after we'd had a fight. Once she took a double-ended dildo to work with her. She cheated with men and with women. And each time I could prove it, she'd tell me how it was because I wasn't man or woman enough for her, or not supportive enough, or I didn't make enough money to make her feel secure in the relationship. Each and every time she blamed me, I believed her. I believed to my core that it was my fault. I am convinced I am a freak, completely undeserving of love. She got pregnant 3 times, including that first time. None of them look like me. One of them looks exactly like one of the guys she swore she had stopped seeing. I know of 6 different lovers. I am fairly certain there are more. We divorced in 2013 after 30 years. She divorced me to go live in Georgia with a couple as a sister wife or something. I am 60 now, still a physical freak. I look like a man, but I have the external parts of a woman, none of the internal parts. I am a road to nowhere. As Mom said, God's little pile of spare parts. I have known no other person since her. I long for love. I ache for it like any other, but I am unworthy. Story 48. Started going through my phone looking for any proof and was convinced I was cheating at work or with these random people when I was not. Then started picking fights for no reason to have an excuse to leave the house to cool off. It'd end up being a day or two. Absolutely losing his shoot when I picked up his phone to open it. What a time. Don't miss it. Story 49. Was convinced everyone had their eye on me and that everyone was looking to steal me away. That and baseless accusations of cheating put on you by them that you're unsatisfied and looking elsewhere, or you have a wandering eye. A lot of unfounded paranoia talk that's really just self-snitching, so they feel better about doing bad things. The nail in the coffin that made me go, oh, it's really happening, isn't it? Is the whole, would you forgive me, still be with me if I caught feelings for someone else? Hypothetically, just wanting to know for conversation's sake. Story 50. Knew her for 6 years, never went to the gym, never worked out at home, disliked exercising. All of a sudden, she was going to the gym in the evening at odd hours, all dressed up, hair and makeup. Short version, she was screwing a married friend of mine that worked at a gym. So thankful. I caught on when I did and got the hell out of there. Story 51. She was a sister of a friend. He started talking about her a lot for no reason. Also, his phone angle and always putting it face down. It wasn't that the phone was face down. I put my phone face down because of the pop socket. It was that he started putting his phone face down. Turns out he was fudge, both the friend and the sister. I was in denial until I saw pictures. Listen to your instincts. I felt that something was wrong before I noticed the signs. Story 52. Things that he used to encourage, like or say didn't bothered him. Like I don't eat meat. He cut his meat intake and used to love cooking for us and join me in what I ate. Suddenly he couldn't stand that I didn't eat meat and how he wanted to buy food and share it with me and how he's never been with a woman who couldn't share food together. We'd go to a Turkish grill and get platters and he'd get angry. He couldn't get the big sharing platter because I wouldn't eat it. We'd go there every week for years and suddenly it became a problem out of nowhere. He'd go on and on about it as if it was a serious, significant issue affecting his life in such a big way, and I could not understand WTF he was talking about. It wasn't about the meat. It was because he was sharing food with someone else. Story 53. He became extremely angry with me often and seemingly out of nowhere. I was struggling really badly with perinatal depression, but everything had to be about him or I would get yelled at. I've heard since that a man can't be nice to 2 women at once, so I suppose I was the one that lucked out. Story 54. I've been cheated on by 3 different partners. 1, boyfriend wanted an open relationship. I said no. We took a break. He begged me to take him back, only to cheat on me a month after with his male best friend, and told me about it jokingly after we had broken up half a year later. 2, boyfriend cheated twice. He was really low on money and I didn't know. 2 weeks after him calling me his GF and vice versa, cheated on me with a sugar mommy he knew before meeting me. I confronted him about a long black hair on his bed, and he confessed. I accepted his apology and told him if he ever cheated again, we would be done. He cheated on me again 6 months into the relationship and only told me after breaking up months later. 3, boyfriend was abusive and a liar, and I had a really bad gut feeling one day. I woke up and immediately downloaded Hinge, made a quick profile, swiped a bunch of times, and found him. I kept screenshots and a screen recording of his profile and didn't tell him. What hurt most was one of the pictures was a screenshot of a FaceTime call with me, but he put himself as the big screen and cropped me out. There is no apology for cheating, and trust your gut. Karma got all of them back, BTW. 1. Started balding and lost his job. 2. Got STDs after breaking up over text. 3. Lost his job and trust in the world. He was also my first SA experience, and I got him banned from dating apps. Story 55. Purchases of records on our shared Amazon account, being sent to the house of someone I thought was my friend. He denied anything was going on more than friendship and insisted she was a lesbian, and it wasn't like that. Then I caught them having intimacy in his car, right in front of our apartment, and clear as day from the window beside where I was nursing our baby to sleep. He still tried to deny it when he came in the house, and punched me in the face for being crazy instead. Wildly, he kicked me and the baby out and moved in with his new last 2 weeks later. She ended up being psycho-level crazy and regularly physically abusing him as he did me, so it kind of all worked out. Story 56. I was the cheater in my situation. I literally don't know how it happened. I just fell in love, and the first signs that it's happening is that we work more, we have to stay late or start early, or we hang out with our guy friends more. I'm so ashamed of what I did, and I just thought I would share how awful you will feel for the rest of your life if you've ever thought about it. Trust it isn't worth it. I destroyed 2 hearts. Story 57. I never checked her phone, ever. It's just not in my makeup to be that way. One day our daughter asked me to help her play a song on mommy's phone. The password wouldn't work. She told me she had to change it with a recent iOS update. I didn't suspect a thing. In the weeks and months that followed, she blindsided me with requesting a divorce out of nowhere. Nothing made sense. Later I found out she was cheating on me with my best friend for years. They're together now and they deserve each other. Story 58. Unfortunately, I've been through this a few times, and the first sign is usually them having their phone glued to them. And if they get super defensive, secretive, and overly aggravated when it comes to their phone. An over-the-top reaction usually screams guilt. Also, if they try to deflect or project onto you, like accusing you of cheating with no reason. Other signs are stories not adding up or changing. Too much detail usually means it's made up. Story 59. Hiding his phone. I was never the kind of person to check his phone, but would occasionally use it like if his phone was hooked up to Google Maps or something. He never had a passcode. Out of nowhere, he added a passcode and would hide his phone in his pocket or backpack, tilt the screen away from me if he was texting, and got very snippy if I was asked who he was texting. Story 60. I can't say he was cheating yet, but he was definitely thinking about it. We planned a date for months, come the Friday before. He tells me he's going to the beach for the weekend with some girl who told him, "Don't come if your girl is gonna have a problem with me." I didn't even give a fudge. They weren't going alone. There were 6 other people, men, women, going. I told him we had a date planned already, and if he could be back in time for that, movies, I bought the tickets like a week before. He got so upset and mad and immediately started trying to defend himself, saying he wasn't going to cheat. Why couldn't he go? I just stared at him. He then got even more emotional, to the point of threatening tragic end if I didn't let him go. Whatever, LMFAO. Glad we broke up because he caught some things and passed things around. Story 61. Emotionally detached, shorter temper, and arguing about almost anything. Avoiding intimacy, pretending to sleep, or staying up late, hoping I'd fall asleep before. Going out to party or have a beer with friends after work almost every day. Coming home late and tipsy, always on the messenger. Also, once she shoot her own leg, claiming that I'm probably jealous and I think that she likes X. I never thought about their relationship this way, her colleague from work, until that moment. Story 62. Gut feeling. It's so frickin' real. That combined with projection, he started accusing me of cheating, and he got mean about it. Phone facing down, he would also come home, and instead of coming straight in the house like he used to, he would spend 10-15 minutes in his car, probably clearing his phone. They always fumble, though. Caught him one day when he forgot to delete a missed FaceTime from none other than the one woman my gut was screaming at me about. Story 63. She would take her son's barber to lunch after the kid got a haircut during COVID, since shops weren't open. They'd meet in public, or he'd come to her parents' place. Wasn't thinking much until I was piecing together the kid was getting a haircut like 4 times a month. Doesn't have that much hair. Yeah, she was effing him the whole time. Story 64. Everything that she once loved, admired about me was suddenly hyper-criticized, and I couldn't do anything right. Even though I handled the kids, house, and income alone, she was just starting a new commission-based career. Guess where it started? So I didn't fall for the bullshit. Still broke me, though. Story 65. Paying less attention to you. Also, my ex kept having dreams of me cheating on him, LOL. And I was reassuring him that cheating is disgusting and I would never do that. Turns out he was cheating on me the whole time, taking their phone with them everywhere. Story 66. Phone behavior. Stopped sharing location but lied and said it was a glitch. Always guarding the phone, placing it face down, added extra verification to apps. Sat across from me so I couldn't see it. This was extra weird because I had never even attempted to get in her phone before. Story 67. I caught him kissing her in our backyard at our house party. Then he gaslit me that I was seeing things. Then things started falling into place, and his sister preferred her to me, so she kept inviting her. Glad I eventually saw sense nearly 14 years ago. Story 68. When the random woman texted me explaining the situation with screenshots, proofs, and everything, was very sorry as my ex told her he was single and she started snooping his social media. I showed my ex the screenshots, and the first words from his mouth were "that meanie," and trying to explain she was crazy and lying. We are still friends with the woman, eat it. Oh my God, I forgot one of the best parts. He started spiraling after realizing he cannot talk his way out and got caught. His response to get my forgiveness and us to get back? Him. But I wore a condom very tight though with that meanie. What a catch. Story 69. For me, the first sign was the last sign. We were out on our deck. Her phone was blowing up. We were talking, but she was more interested in her phone. I'm naturally paranoid. I told her I was going to the bathroom. I went and got my digital camera. I could see over here should. The text was pretty innocent. I'm on the deck. It's really peaceful. My body was shaking. I took a deep breath and went out and confronted her. It actually didn't take much for her to confess. 2 weeks later, she moved out. 33 years in the toilet. Story 70. He was up late one night texting someone, which was out of character for him. He wasn't a big nighttime phone user. I asked who he was texting out of concern that he had an urgent situation or some kind of complicated thing going on, not out of suspicion. I'm not a naturally nervous or suspicious person. At least I wasn't before this. Anyways, he tells me that he's talking to a friend about a college assignment due tomorrow, and he specifically used he/him pronouns when referring to this friend. A couple days later, he's talking to the same friend, again specifically using he/him, and this time I did look over at the name on the phone. It was a traditionally feminine name that he was talking with. He deliberately misled me twice by using the masculine pronouns to make me think he was talking to another male. I confronted him about it, and he tried to say it was a slip of the tongue and just him talking too fast. He did have a naturally fast way of speaking, so at the time I did give him the benefit of the doubt. But within the next 2 weeks, the other signs piled on very quickly, and I got the full picture of what was happening. Cheaters often reveal themselves in small ways. To this day, I have a hard time with overanalyzing small things that often turn out to be inconsequential. It has very much had a negative effect on my relationships and friendships. Story 71. Always watching her phone and hiding it, not answering my phone calls, text, starting arguments over nothing, and always having girls' nights and signs of disinterest out of nowhere. There's lots of other things I've noticed too, but there is a few off the top of my head. Story 72. She was avoidant. When texting, she was secretive. This one's a big one. Patterns. You and your partner has established patterns through your daily lives. Call times, texts, hanging out. Once those seem off, and if you ask, they will feel guilty and come out with it. Story 73. Phone. It's always the phone, taking a bit more time in the bathroom, looking nice to run errands, purchasing things online and driving to the next town over to pick it up, but coming home with no items. If they're a non-smoker and their clothes smell like they've been at a bar. And finally, when they're home, they're never in the moment. When they come home, they jump in the shower force thing and go to bed really early. Story 74. I suddenly couldn't touch or see his phone because I was controlling him. This was after I found out he cheated and apologized. He didn't want me seeing his phone or talking about it to sort it out because then I was dramatic. I had to forgive instantly, smile, and never talk about it again. Can't believe I stayed too long. Like, sir, you lost all privacy to your phone the second you decided to be lustful. I dislike these men. Story 75. Suddenly was too busy and stopped asking me to come spend the night, saying he was going to his male coworker's house, but then I wouldn't hear from him for the rest of the night. Turns out he was going to a coworker's house. It was just a girl's and not the guy he was saying. There was one time I was spending the night and he said his work had rented out a movie theater for them to watch some movie. I asked if I could go, but he said something like, "Oh, it's rented out for my work, so no one from outside can go." I don't remember the exact reasoning, but he dressed pretty nice for a movie. I'm now partly convinced he either had a date with the girl he was cheating on me with and left me at his house, or he didn't go to the movies at all and was out at dinner with her. Story 76. She got promotion at work and changed working pattern. Had to stay late, sometimes to work on Saturdays. Started to travel. I was really happy about it. But I have noticed change in behavior, keeping distance, not having time for me. One day I asked, what is the problem? And she confessed. It didn't came to my mind. Question was asked to see whether she was working too much and that she was too tired. Story 77. Our intimacy life dropped dramatically. All of a sudden, he was too tired very often. Got texts late at night from his work phone and phone calls, which he refused to answer because it was late. Work hours extended out of nowhere. He suddenly kept talking about the same girl. Coincidentally, I knew her from high school, and how gross she was and how she got around at his work site. He was trying to throw me off. It actually made me suspicious. Gave me an STI, which I found out I'd had for months, got tested too early initially during the relationship, was suffering greatly, went back and confirmed the second time. Get tested regularly, even if you're in an LTR. Story 78. My ex-wife didn't come home a few nights, saying she was out with friends. I went on our cell phone account, and this was one. It would list who the texts were going to, as you only had so many messages provided with your plan before you paid for more additional. I noticed there was back and forth texts between a number all night till about right when she got off work at night. Called the number, it was her male supervisor's name on the voicemail. They were texting each other all shift, long until they were together, and then obviously didn't have to text at that point. Story 79. Well, see, there was this one time she missed our 1-year anniversary, ignored my calls and texts, and wasn't home. The next day I came over and she told me she'd had a one-night stand. Oh, this other time with a different girl, I went to a party and a video of threesome with her, a girl, and another guy was playing. Story 80. Found her a tampon in the bathroom garbage can. I wasn't getting my period at the time because I was skipping it with birth control. This was years ago, and I had found out he was bringing a woman over while I worked. He was unemployed at the time and did nothing but play video games and smoke. Last I heard, he's homeless now, LOL. Story 81. Always telling you they were in the shower. I lived with my ex, and the shower would be bone dry. Constantly watching your phone when it goes off, or will try and bring you your phone when it rings, or will tell you who is calling you, sometimes before you get to see yourself. Outright asking who are you talking to, even though you talk to the same group of people every day. Telling you one of their friends is cheating and how they wouldn't do it. Suddenly the places you once enjoyed going together, they don't like anymore, but never suggest where else they would like to have a new experience with you. This may not fit everyone, but suddenly they change their wallpaper from our family photo to a photo of a calendar with a dog on it. Suddenly getting a haircut after a period of not getting regular cuts, and there is no other issues going on that was preventing that. Accusing you of cheating and your family and friends of helping you cheat. Having texts now downloaded even though they have an active service. Overly complimenting you, every other word ends with beautiful or handsome or whatever they